Well, just 24 hours before the Supreme Court starts to hear a clutch of petitions on the constitutional validity of the Aadhaar card, the government is beating a retreat. The centre has extended the 31st December deadline to link your Aadhaar card with your bank account to the 31st of March. But for other Aadhaar linkages like demat accounts, credit cards, mobile phone services and others, the current deadlines still stand. Joining us now to take this discussion forward is Rajya Sabha MP Rajeev Chandrasekhar, BJP spokesperson Zafar Islam, Supreme Court lawyer Sanjay Hegde and Nikhil Pava, the editor at Media Nama. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. Zafar Islam, let me come to you. Why are we facing this constant confusion? Today we saw a Gazette notification being put out by the government saying that the 31st December deadline to link your Aadhaar card to bank account stands withdrawn. A few hours later, you put out a March 31st deadline. The fact of the matter is that this is going to be taken up by the constitutional bench that is set up to hear this issue. The hearing starts tomorrow. Why can't we just wait instead of causing more confusion for the banking sector, for consumers?
Well, there's absolutely no confusion, Shireen. I think when the government works, this kind of thing keeps happening, that based on the certain requests from various quarters that dates are extended. It's not that first time it has happened, and it will not. So one needs to not get overly worried about that the government has extended the date. It has that needs to be extended as and when it is warranted, and this is what the government felt that.
But the matter is in court. The matter is being challenged in court. It's a 5-judge constitution bench that is listening to the matter. The hearing was supposed to have started at the end of November. It's finally starting tomorrow. Why can't the government wait instead of giving deadline after deadline, which then you revoke, then you put forward a new deadline, causing all kinds of confusion? In fact, the Supreme Court itself commented that the government must not torment people with these deadlines.
See, government is functioning independent of what is happening in the court. I mean, we are not intruding in any way in functioning of the court, and the executives have been empowered the responsibility of running the government, and these are the executive powers which need to be exercised as and it is warranted. I mean, as far as the court proceeding is concerned, court proceedings will continue as it should have continued. But we need not overly get worried about that this has been extended just because there is a hearing tomorrow.
All right, let me now take this point across to our other panelists. Sanjay Hegde, you just heard what the BJP spokesperson had to say. We saw a Gazette notification where the December 31st deadline was withdrawn for linkage of Aadhaar to bank accounts. Now that's been extended to the 31st of March. The 5-judge bench hears the matter tomorrow. What do you make of this?
Let me just put the issue in perspective. The 5-judge bench is hearing the matter tomorrow afternoon only on the question of interim orders. The actual hearing will not commence. The actual hearing may be sometime in January. And the 31st of March deadline is, which the government has conceded probably on legal advice from the Attorney General, is precisely that. So that has to give the Supreme Court time to hear the matter and deliver a verdict. Now, the other thing I want to say about this government is something simply that they tend to shoot first and think later. Notwithstanding all the privacy concerns that were there regarding Aadhaar, they went ahead with a huge scheme of expansion, essentially trying to make Aadhaar a fait accompli and something too big to fail. It was only after the 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court we gave its judgment on the privacy issue, which also they had used to block the Aadhaar case, that this government woke up and then brought in the Sri Krishna committee to look at privacy. This government tends to put the cart before the horse. We have seen what they did in demonetization. They think that they can, that because they have executive power, they have powers of an emperor to rule by fiat.
Sure.
No, sir.
Let's stick.
No matter how highsoever you are, the law is above you. We live.
Let's stick to the issue of Aadhaar, Sanjay Hegde. Let me bring in Raj. No, I get your point. I get your point, sir. Let me bring in Rajeev Chandrasekhar. Rajeev Chandrasekhar.
So the point is that they did not anticipate this legal fight.
Okay, they didn't anticipate this legal fight. Rajeev Chandrasekhar, yes, go ahead.
No, so Shireen, look, I have been a petitioner and I've been in courts fighting against Aadhaar since 2013. And it's a pretty simple proposition that the Aadhaar challenge predates the Supreme Court ruling that privacy is a fundamental right. The Aadhaar Act was passed way before the Supreme Court ruled that privacy is a fundamental right. It is absolutely clear to everybody who has a bit of common sense that the Aadhaar Act will have to pass the test of privacy being a fundamental right. So there is, whether the deadline is December or the deadline is March or the deadline is June or July or September, there is no question of any of these linkages being sustainable or tenable unless the Aadhaar Act and Aadhaar in its whole passes the test that all citizens of India have privacy as a guaranteed fundamental right by the Supreme Court. So I don't think we should worry too much about December or March.
Which has been guaranteed now by the Apex Court.
Yeah, so December or March
I'm not worrying about the timeline as much, Rajeev Chandrasekhar, but the point that was being made by Sanjay Hegde, and I think you're echoing what he's saying as well, is that given the fact that the constitutional validity of the Aadhaar Act is itself in question at this point in time, it's a matter that is being heard by the 5-judge Constitution bench, then perhaps it is best to let matters rest till the court comes up with a verdict, with a clear verdict, instead of going back and forth on these dates, even though you may believe that they're irrelevant. But they're not irrelevant to consumers.
So Shireen, I'm agreeing with you. I think these dates have no meaning. I think whoever in the bureaucracy is peddling these dates, whether they are, December or March, are being very, very foolish, because there is no question of any date, because the courts have to scrutinize the Aadhaar Act. They have to scrutinize Aadhaar as being consistent with privacy being a fundamental right. No amount of huffing and puffing can change that. That scrutiny has to happen. And if that scrutiny takes 6 months, so be it. If it takes 3 months, so be it. These dates have absolutely no meaning. These are completely irrelevant, because the process will have to go through the judicial scrutiny that every citizen in this country is entitled to.
All right. Nikhil Pava, let me come to you now and let me play devil's advocate here, because I have 3 gentlemen who are all, in a sense, on pretty much the same side when it comes to the Aadhaar debate. The government's argument is that you're all creating a big fuss for no reason. This is, the government is pushing forward with Aadhaar to ensure that there is transparency, that they guarantee that there will be no misuse. They promise that the Aadhaar Act is robust. They talk about giving examples of using Google and so on and so forth, biometrics being used by passport control. If that's okay, then why the issues with the Aadhaar, Nikhil Pava? That is the sum and substance, essentially, of the government's argument.
Shireen, that's a lot of questions. It will take a little bit of time to answer this, but let me just add something to the discussion that's happened earlier in the show. I just want to point out that this is essentially panic creation by the government, and people have been panicking. I've been inundated with WhatsApp messages, emails, Twitter messages, DMs from large number of people who don't know whether they need to get an Aadhaar or not, or whether they should link or not, because they don't want to, and they have to wait. They're trying to wait as long as possible. So we've been done a disservice by a government that had put this deadline of 31st March in an affidavit in the Supreme Court, but not issued a notification till 1 day before the hearing. So this notification that's come out today is in bad faith. It's a last-minute thing that they're doing. And even if they post it, I don't think we can really trust the government to care for what citizens are going through right now. So I would advise every single person listening to this show to remember the panic that you've been put through when you're going to vote next time. Because this is it. This is not a government that cares for you. They're just trying to push this as quickly as possible. The other thing I want to point out is that I'm very disappointed in the Supreme Court, because what we're hearing, what we're going to hear next month or maybe later, is something that's been pending for almost 900 days. So, this is that classic Bollywood dialogue of Tariq that's been going on. We've been waiting. The right to privacy case happened as a consequence of that old case, which still hasn't been sorted out. So, on this issue of biometrics being given to countries, etc., this is my country. I should have the choice not to give my biometrics to them. Biometrics are completely unsafe because you leave your fingerprints on every glass of water that you touch. They've been cloned from photographs. Iris has been cloned from photographs. We should have a choice whether we want to link or not, or whether if we want an Aadhaar or not.
All right.
What is the hurry?
All right. So, yeah. What is the hurry? That is the question that is being raised here on this panel. Sanjay Hegde, again, for the benefit of our viewers who are watching, give us a perspective of what is the five-judge constitution bench? What are the issues the five-judge bench is actually going to ponder over when it starts its hearing? Of course, as you pointed out, that's likely to happen only in January.
No, the larger hearing will have to go into the entirety of both the Aadhaar Act as well as the mechanism of Aadhaar right now, whether privacy concerns are met, or even without privacy, whether you can do something forcibly without the consent of the governed. So there are several issues as far as Aadhaar is concerned, and privacy may be the chief issue. Now, that will, of course, take its own time, and I think whoever is leading the government there will have a very, very tough time. But what the government is currently doing is like those builders who come to court, get a stay order, and in the meanwhile construct a whole building and say, please, please, please don't demolish the building. This is exactly the kind of private enterprise in litigation that the government is resorting to. This is a government should be of laws. It should not behave like a private builder.
All right, gentlemen, we will continue this conversation as we hear what the court has to say on the matter tomorrow, but it's likely to be a prolonged discussion and debate at the five-judge constitution bench, as we've just heard from our panelists. Sanjay Hegde, Nikhil Pava, Rajeev Chandrasekhar, always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Well, time for us to head into a break, but don't go anywhere. Resolution deadline of cases from RBI's second default list ends today. Majority of the 28 accounts